some thumbs and some hearts across the screen as we go through this information. Now, today's topic, what we wanted to go over is traditional businesses versus home-based businesses. Okay, so it's 2018. I say this all the time. People are making money like crazy online. You can literally, like, we live in a society today where you can almost make money doing anything. You can start a business literally doing almost anything. So do you know the difference between a traditional business and a home-based business? What are some of the advantages? What are some of the disadvantages of doing one over the other? Okay, we all have ideas. I do feel like we all have some form of gift, talent, and we all want to pursue a passion. We just may not know how to take the first step. And so with that being said, maybe this can help you to kind of, make a choice on what you prefer. Okay, the traditional style over the home-based business where you can literally be making money at home. All right, so let's go ahead and start it off.
Let's do it.
The very first thing that we wanted to point out is the workplace. Okay, so let's talk about the workplace between the traditional and the home-based business. So, of course, a traditional business, the workplace is a physical location. You're leasing or purchasing a building, an office space. Of course, you have to fill those things up with something, furniture and things of that nature. But basically, you are working from that location outside of your home. You have a commute every day. Okay, similar to commuting to like a job or something like that. So think about a lot of the times restaurants. Okay, restaurants, a lot of times you have to be there physically. And then you have your home business. And of course, the home business, the workplace is just that. It is your home. So your commute is maybe from your bedroom to your living room or from your bedroom to your dining room table or from, wherever, but it's still in your home. You're saving on gas. So your workplace is just that. You want to chime in on that?
I mean, you just got to understand, a lot of times people are more so going in the direction of freedom and liberty and being able to do things without requiring as much effort. Even jobs are really kind of becoming remote. They're allowing more people to start working from the comforts of their home because they see that's the direction that everybody is heading in. Technology has allowed people to do those things and still be beneficial to even large corporations. So the question is, why wouldn't you want to do it for yourself? If you can make your area, your location, your workspace, your home, or if your workspace can become your home, that also means your workspace can become a hotel. We were talking about a vacation towards the beginning, but that also means that you can work from wherever you are. So there's no limits, no boundaries, whether you're on the beach, whether you're in your bed, whether you're in your pajamas, whether you're in a suit. It doesn't matter because you can do it from anywhere. So embrace that because that is the future and it's also the present.
And it's crazy because how can I even forget about that? How can I even forget about your workspace or workplace being wherever the heck you want it to be? Absolutely. As much as we travel, So, that is a major one. And it's so funny joking around with a lot of our business partners, the ones who do it full time from home. We, make a lot of jokes about only being dressed from the waist up, because nobody's going to see the waist down.
Right.
So yeah, that's a really good one. It's just being able to work from wherever you deem necessary, as long as there is an internet connection most of the time. Then there you go. All right. The next thing is outsourcing and staffing. Okay, so outsourcing and staffing. Let's talk about the differences between the traditional and the home-based business. So the traditional, of course, you are hiring employees or you're outsourcing work, which means, there's a lot of things that you need to do with like your bank to make sure that you can pay people properly, even though nowadays it's a lot of different ways that you can send money. But as it pertains to, your record keeping and things of that nature, you definitely have to have everything in order as it pertains to a traditional business. And then, of course, hiring of employees, you have to make sure that you have good candidates to run that business. If you aren't there for whatever reason, will that business stay afloat? And then you have your home business where, for the most part, You're just using software. You don't really have to hire a whole bunch of people. And if you do, it's not long term. It may be temporary. It may be building a website for you. It may be paying somebody for advertising. It may be, just simple things of that nature, but it's not long term. Someone working for you long term. And depending on the business, that can be the case, but it's totally different from having like a physical employee. Most of your work is being done online, and this is one of the things, especially you, Marcus, is being able to automate a lot of your tasks. Take it.
That's exactly what I was going to add. Automation. You see, really, truth be told, you got to think about it, and you got to think of this word, leverage. A lot of times people don't understand that if they're working a job, they are being leveraged, meaning you're someone else's leverage. Not a bad thing, but if you are being someone else's leverage, you might as well find some things that can work in your benefit and leverage those things. You see, if you have a traditional business and you have employees, then they benefit the company to a certain degree, but based on how they're feeling, whether they're sick or they have a bad attitude or, they're just not competent for the job at hand, those are a lot of obstacles and things you might have to endure, not to mention the taxes and different things you have to cover, insurances based on what you pay them. However, the leverage comes in when you're working from home and you're utilizing software. Like we stated, automation is a big key to the puzzle. Some of the things that you used to would have to pay an employee to do, like a secretary to send out certain messages or email certain people or file certain things, can be automated because of the software that exists. Literally, you can do intake forms to where it's an automated process. They put in their information, they fill out, you might have a questionnaire system that they'll fill out based on whatever it is that you provide to them, whether it's a service, whether it's a product. And that used to be something you would pay a secretary to do, an employee to do, a person to do. But now the automation and the software allows them to go to the site, fill it out, schedule an appointment with you, and now you fulfill that appointment and you did it on autopilot. So people are setting up appointments while you're doing other things, working on your business, traveling, whatever it is that you're doing. So the automation is key, and that's leverage at its highest point, because now it gives you a system to make it feel as though you have 3 or 4 employees, but in all actuality, you just put some things in place. One time you may have to edit and alter and tweak certain things, but you put it in place one time, it's working while you're also working. Priceless.
That is his favorite thing, y'all.
Automation,
sometimes I'm
it.
like, oh, I want to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And he like, nah, I want to automate some stuff. I got an app for that, and it's just so crazy. And sometimes it's just amazing. Like, we have this talk all the time. It's amazing the way technology is evolving. And even though some people are scared of things like flying cars and scared of things like, or just the automated cars driving itself. Yeah. We're sitting up here like, bring it on. We can both be in the back seat getting it on these phones. We can be running these businesses and we don't have to worry about driving. It's just so funny. Like, sometimes when we go and pick up the kids, he's like, you want to drive? I got some work, that I need to do on my phone. And I'm just like, I don't feel like driving. So the fact that both of us in the future could both just be riding and on our phones and getting to work, like, we're excited to see what new enhancements are going to be made to technology. So a little bit off subject, but
that was automation.
Okay.
Automation.
Cool. All right. So the next thing is inventory and equipment. Inventory and equipment. Okay. So let's talk about traditional, or as Robert said, brick and mortar style businesses, which is typically, what they're called.
Yep.
You have, of course, your lease, your space, equipment, furniture, products, inventory. We can go on and on. Okay. There's a lot of expenses associated with having a traditional business. And then you have your home business, where you can pretty much build a very profitable business online with just a computer or a cell phone or a tablet. Okay. Some people wonder why cell phones are getting so expensive, because you can do everything on them. Like, you are looking at 2 people. We understand how a cell phone could cost $1,000 when we're sitting on our cell phone all day long doing business. Okay. So, the home-based business, most definitely. And some of the things that we talked about and that we jotted down for inventory and equipment. Also, with having a home-based business, you're running your business online. The things that you can sell sometimes aren't even physical products.
True.
Think about this.
True.
Ebooks, okay? You see this all the time. It's not like a book. It's an online book that you can read. They have the tablets just for books. What is it called? A Nook?
Yeah, that's one.
Is that what it's called? Okay, yeah. So you have that. And then, of course, you have businesses that you can build like affiliate marketing or like network marketing where you're not handling products directly. People get so afraid when you say network marketing or affiliate marketing. But you guys, there's absolutely no overhead with building these businesses. So
now, what was the title of that? Because it was a word that
I put inventory and equipment.
Inventory and equipment. Now, I'm going to read this story just to kind of paint a picture, of what's actually happening. This is not just something I'm thinking of. This is actually happening, and I'm going to paint the picture. So just follow along. I got this from a blog. It's called Digital Bloggers. So shout out to them. I, found it recently. But basically it said, it was a story that said, my friends have recently purchased a traditional brick and mortar retail business. They paid $80,000 for the business. It cost $30,000 for the stock, and they paid an additional $30,000 for insurances, employee costs, marketing for their first year, and to be up and running and get customers through the door. That is a huge investment, and you need to be very sure about investing that amount of money. Now, that's something that people are literally doing. Not that it's a bad thing, because you should bet on you, but you just got to understand a lot of times that money that's invested, and I think when you tally up the amount of money that was spent, it was probably $140,000. When that money is invested, most of the time they're taking a loan in order to do it, which if you bet on you can get a return on your investment. You just delay the time frame because you're starting off behind the 8 ball, meaning you're starting off behind. So it's a while before you can reach a profit due to the fact that you started off $140 in the negative. So you got to take that into consideration, because a lot of times as it relates to a home-based business, non-brick and mortar style, you can be in profit mode week 1, month 1, year 1, and still make the same type of cash flow that may come from the brick and mortar style business without the $140,000 worth of debt. So you got to understand that. And a lot of times as it relates to franchises, because a lot of times people are like, I want a McDonald's franchise, or I want a Wendy's franchise, or Tropical Smoothie, whatever the franchise is, Chick-fil-A, whatever the franchise is, they're looking forward to having this franchise because it seems good. It seems like anybody who has a franchise business has to be successful, or has to have a level of success, which they may prior to the franchise. But most of the times they tell you on the front end, don't even think about profiting for the first 5 years with this style of a business. You might have had to put up $1 million or $100,000 depending on the franchise. But when you calculate the money that's made and then you deduct, employee expenses for the most part, equipment, like she stated in the beginning, all of those things make it to where you may have, even though the company, the franchise itself may have made $500,000 after all of the expenses, you may have brought home $40,000, $50,000, $80,000, all because you started out behind the 8 ball. You started off behind. So it has its pros as long as you can think long term, but just understand from home, lower overhead allows you to profit sooner and scale from that. Because once you get in profit mode, now you can just start scaling, and here you have cash flow that may be equivalent or more or even less than a person who has a brick and mortar business, but because you didn't have any debt attached to it, you're more free than they are due to the automation in this.
Now, it's rare, it seems like, that most people start their traditional business without getting a loan. Now you will see the different, what is it called when you get a group of people together and you have them
crowdfunding type
crowdfunding.
Okay.
So you have things like that. You have people setting up GoFundMe accounts.
Right. Silent investors. And,
You have different things where people are able to at least attempt to raise money, to at least knock out a chunk of that so that they don't have to get a loan. Now, he brought up an example of somebody taking a loan out of over $100,000, but I'm showing the minimum. And of course, this was back in 2009, so that was a while ago, almost 10 years ago, $30,000 minimum, when compared to a home-based business, Dun, dun, dun. I mean, it's free. You know, you just using the equipment that you already have, you know, unless you don't have a computer, you don't have a tablet, you don't have a cell phone, which is rare nowadays. But the most you may be paying for on the front end, and it depends on the type of business that you have, is website cost. You know, paying for someone to actually design your site. But when you think about the cost associated with that, that could be a minimum of $50, anywhere up to, even if it, let's just say $1,000, compared to $30,000 to $100,000 for a traditional business. So I want you to think about that. And again, it depends on the type of business that you have. It seems like websites used to be way more popular back in the day. Like if you had a website, you was on to something, like you were on and popping. But now, you know, even just kind of speaking for myself, I have a website that I really don't even use for my business. And actually, most of my clients for my design business comes from social media.
True.
Okay. So if you got a good social media, and, you know, Facebook and Instagram, they're getting really smart with this. They've even allowed you to create a business page.
Absolutely.
Through social media to promote your products, your service, your business. You can even pay for advertising. So a lot of the websites are kind of going downhill, but you still have businesses like boutiques, you know, those who have physical products that don't want that brick and mortar style business. They still need a website. But like I said, compared to back in the day, websites are not as needed or as popular as they were before.
And even with those type of businesses, you got to think about it. It's a lot of people who understand the direction that entrepreneurship is going, because it's at an all-time high and it's only going to get higher. But as it relates to somebody who may have a boutique, or as it relates to somebody who might want to teach or have an online academy, because if you're good at something, you can teach somebody else what it is that you know, turn that into an income stream, the whole nine. Even though it's a requirement for you to have some type of site somewhere for them to visit your online training or videos, this is the thing. A lot of companies have understood that, and they've set up platforms to where you can be a boutique owner, but they've already structured everything you need to be able to collect and check out and collect, you know, Visa, Master, all of these different forms of payment is done on the front end because it's built into this platform. Yeah. Same goes for a person who has a class that they want to teach. You can do it from your own site or get a designer, but there are sites out there like a JVZoo or Udemy or ClickBank. It's a lot of different things that people are using and putting video content on there, and everything else is pretty much in place, and you just get the end consumer, whoever it is that wants your product, to these sites. And it was more hands-free and didn't cost much. You might have to pay a monthly fee, but you know, that's the cost of doing business. Tax deductible if you understand business deductions, so you got to understand that. But this is another thing I want to point out, because a lot of times I'm gonna just reference this. So tag a cook or somebody who you feel is good at cooking into this particular segment, because a lot of times we find people who are great at cooking and they just automatically feel like, okay, if I go into business, I need to have me a restaurant, because you know, once I go into this business or have me a restaurant, I'm gonna have an influx of people coming in to my restaurant to eat what it is that I prepare, or eat the food that I cook. But in this day and age, you got to understand, getting a restaurant most of the time requires some type of, you know, upfront investment to buy the building or take out a loan, get the equipment, all of the things that you need. You got to be the inspections. Yeah, you got to be up to a certain code. But nowadays, and it's still kind of on the front end, but a lot of people are really taking advantage of this trend. People who are great at cooking, they're just using social media platforms to show themselves cooking. Literally going live, giving ingredients and showing you the start, the midsection, and how the end result looks after they put a particular recipe together. Even having cookbooks that they're selling all from the comforts of the home, doing speaking engagements, doing workshops in different areas, all from the comforts of their home, and probably end up making more, especially in cash flow, and being that they didn't start out in debt, making more than a person who opens up and runs and operates a restaurant with way more freedom. I know you probably want to piggy on that, because you the one who watched those cooking shows and all.
I did. I put him on game, y'all. Social media, there's two people that I follow, and I wish I could do a little shameless plug, but I can't remember their first and last names, but there's a young lady and there's a guy that I follow, and that's exactly what they do. They're literally doing live videos of just the food that they're making for that night or for the following day or something like that, and they're showing you exactly how they're cooking it. They're showing you how they garnish, educating you as they go. And then at the end of that, of course, they have their cookbooks and the things that they're offering to you, and they have their dinner for tonight, so, and I just thought it was amazing. So you guys, and think about it. If they were trying to make a large amount of food for people, they can only do it in their location, in their city or state or wherever, they're located.
True.
Not shipping off plates all over the country.
True.
But when you're doing a live video, you're able to educate people all over the country, and then you can, sell them on the back end and just say, well, look, I got this cookbook. This recipe is in there.
Yep.
You can do exactly what I did. Oh, if you could just smell how my kitchen smell right now, y'all, I'm telling y'all,
yep,
it's insane. And I did want to actually, somebody said something, Darnell Maxwell, he said that he started a food truck. He paid all cash, but $40,000 still behind the 8 ball to break even 1 year later. And then another thing that Ms. Deshawn said, she said, unless you're automating your business, then a landing page and a website is integral, which is right. If you have, we're going back to that automation, right?
Right.
If you're automating your online business, then yes, if you have that website, you can create different funnels. You can either do it yourself or you can pay somebody to do that.
Correct.
And you're able to automate that business. Of course, you still have to market it and things of that nature, but it's not so many conversations. It's not so much talk back and forth. Literally, you're automating your business. So as you guys can see, we have some supporters of the home-based businesses on the line. So again, you guys, give us some thumbs, give us some hearts, and we want you to share this video. If you are getting some value, share this video.
I love
Share
it.
it with somebody.
And thank you for sharing that food truck scenario too. And the
Yes.
food truck is actually a little more cash flow, sensible. It makes more cash flow sense than a typical brick and mortar because it gives you some mobility. You get a ton of tax deductions associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, sometimes you can still start off behind the 8 ball, but you can catch up a lot faster than most people who are in the restaurant industry because there's a lot less employees and all of that. But just imagine having that food truck and you were filming some of those things. So now you're reaching people in more ways than one. You're reaching the people who are around you, but now you got some footage of what you're doing because people want to see your journey. You're documenting their journey, and now you turn that mobile truck into a somewhat of a home-based business because you're operating it remotely wherever you are. And to kind of piggyback on that automation, it's a good feeling because a lot of times our videos serve as feeders. We got people who's probably watching our videos now that we recorded a year ago, 2 years ago, old content that brings them into something like a capture page. Like the other day, we had somebody, or just yesterday, we had somebody to fill out an interview pretty much asking questions or answering questions that we put out there to see where they were financially, see where their goals, what goals they had, what is it they've already tried as it relates to bettering their finances, and scheduling a call with us so they can go ahead and, and get enrolled into the membership that we give people that helps them accomplish their financial goals. All automated. It was like 2:30 in the morning, I believe. The email came through saying, "Hey, this person, filled out this system." So the automation plays a huge part. Now back to the cost as it relates to a person who does the food and the recipes. How much did that really cost them to prepare a dish and record it?
However much dinner cost that night.
However much dinner, and now they're able to write that food off. They just made the meal that they were already going to eat or the family was going to eat tax deductible when typically groceries wouldn't be. But now, because they're in business, hopefully they understand tax deductions. I can't assume that they understand that part. So that's definitely something they need to understand as well. No matter what business you're in, you got to understand money. That's why I love what we do, because it ties everything together regardless of your scenario.
Oh, I have another
But
example.
if they understand that, now that meal just became tax deductible. Take more.
And
Queen.
another example, because with these food videos, you guys, I've seen these videos get up to
I know where you're
a
going.
million
I already know. Yeah.
views. I mean, crazy amount of views. It's this one girl in particular. You know, she goes live on Facebook. She has a YouTube channel. She has an Instagram. All of them. She has a huge following. I mean, a huge following. But then another thing that's popping, makeup.
I knew it. Yep.
You guys, these makeup videos, I don't know what it is about these videos, but if a person goes live and you just see them doing their eyebrows, all of a sudden that number is jumping. I have seen another young lady that I follow online on the live video having over 4,000 people just watching. So imagine when that video ends, how many views she has on those videos. I'm talking about millions. And I don't even think she's like a licensed, if that's a thing.
Right.
Do you have to get licensed for that? I think it's like a cosmetology license or something that you need
or something maybe.
for that.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, people who are just good. It's a lot of the people that I see going live doing makeup. They tell you in their videos, "Oh, I'm self-taught."
Right.
And that's another thing that is trending. And I see a huge increase in people being self-taught, being able to use their gifts, their talents, and monetize it.
I love it. I love it.
The power of social media is insane.
And you just gave me another idea of something to piggyback on as it relates to being self-taught. Usually some type of schooling is really somebody else's validation, or you're just paying for the certificate just to say you did it or you have this. You know, that's usually what it is. It usually doesn't have a whole lot of value attached to it, but it appears to based on someone else's validation or based on, you know, whatever the college was, depending on what it is. So that's another thing as it relates to schooling. That puts you behind the eight ball as well many times, because most people who go into school, they find themselves in debt just to, in most cases, get a job that might not pay them yearly what they have in debt. So it takes them years on top of years usually to pay that off. So that's another example of starting off behind the eight ball. So if you're getting into entrepreneurship, there are a lot of schools that are kind of popping up that are teaching entrepreneurship, so to speak, and I don't feel like entrepreneurship can really be taught. You kind of got to get into the motion. You got to take on the activities and go through the motions. And we were just talking to you know, some of our partners, and we were just saying a lot of times people don't know what goes on behind the scene. That's the university of an entrepreneur, the things that goes on behind the scene. But it's worth it, and it keeps you from always having to start behind the eight ball, because you are able to keep more of that cash flow in and apply it to your business.
Yeah, shout out to the ladies at the Den.
Right.
Putting in their work behind the
behind
scenes.
the scene, if
That's
you
what
only
we were-
knew.
Yes, we were talking about and joking about earlier. Okay, so the next one, you guys, let's talk about time.
Let's get it.
And this one is big. This one is big. I don't care what it is that you do. Time is everything.
Yes.
A lot of people like to say time is money, which it is. But I want you to think about time and money being two separate entities.
Mm-hmm.
You can make as much money as you want to, and you can lose money, and you can get that back.
Right.
We have a mentor who made millions, lost millions, got it back. No big deal. But time, right? No big deal,
no
right?
big deal.
But time, if you're wasting your time, you're losing that time, you cannot get that back. Period. Time is everything. And here's the thing between the two is the traditional business, especially, you know, the beginning years, it takes a lot of your time. You have to be there to make sure the employees are doing their jobs. You have to be there to answer phone calls. When you're not there, it's like you're there because your phone is ringing off the hook. You're putting unlimited amounts of time in. And we watch a lot of shows when we're in the hotels, right? When we're in hotels, we have certain stations that we just watch. We can binge watch. But when we watch a lot of our like business type shows, you hear these business owners saying, oh, I haven't had a vacation in 10 years. You know, I'm here every day. I'm running this business nonstop. That is time that you cannot get back, especially if you have a family, opposed to having a home-based business. Now, of course, in the beginning, it's grind time.
Absolutely.
Period. It's grind time. But you can at least Pick it up, put it down. Pick it up, put it down when you want. You can dedicate as much time or as little time to it as you want. You can on the front end say, okay, my business is only going to be part-time. I still have my job. It is what it is. Or you can say, okay, no, I'm putting in 20 of my 24 hours towards building this business, and I'm going to do that for a good year to 5 years so that I can live the life that I ultimately want to live for the rest of my life. Go ahead. Because I can go in.
Yeah, time is really the most important. You got to understand that's the number one commodity. Some people say time is money. It's really not, like she said. And, as you're working hard to build your business, whatever it may be, you should be putting some things in place to create leverage. It's okay. Even if you have a brick and mortar business, make sure you're putting some stuff in place that can give you the ability to use the time that you've created for yourself to create the memories that are priceless and that are lifelong and that'll never be forgotten. So you want to be doing a combination of the two, and not just working and being a slave to the business, because a lot of times you can not only just be a slave to debt, a slave to a job, you can also be a slave to your business if you didn't put anything in place that can create some type of passive, residual, leverage, income, or automation. And now you put yourself in a situation to where you have to work that business forever. You don't want to do that. So incorporate those things. And as it relates to our mentor, who always gives a good analogy, an excellent analogy as it relates to time, he likes to say, and this is something that when I said it, I was like, man, it gave me an idea. But he was saying, look, if people really understood how valuable their time was, they wouldn't let other people waste it. They would take it and take pride in the time that they have, to the point where if somebody is talking about something that isn't conducive to what they want to do or is negative, they wouldn't even waste time with them because their time is precious. He said, imagine if you're walking around every day and you got an hourglass in your hand, but the hourglass is a representation of your life. So as you're walking around, you're seeing that sand just drizzle away. And you know that when that sand completely runs out, your time is out, meaning that you transition into another phase in life. You die. Simple and plain. He said, imagine everybody walking around with the hourglass and they see their sand dripping. They would value their time a lot more. They would try to get a lot more done in the time that they have, so they can have the ability to spend the time doing what they want to do, with the freedom or create memories, whatever the case may be. And that stood out to me. I was like, man, that makes me want to have a little hourglass medallion, just walking around, just kind of really embracing my time and not letting people waste it. And it's a movie out called In Time that kind of has that same scenario. They have like numbers on their wrist, and it's really a display of how valuable your time is based on the life that you're living. And people wasn't wasting their time. They were on a mission because they knew when that clock ran out, it was a wrap. So understand that time is important. Put things in place to give you that leverage. And this is what you have to understand, because we did some things and put some stuff in place that really gave us a lot of time back, and now we're just compounding on top of that. You see, most of the time when a person works a job or they have a business that feels like a job, because you can be in business but still have a job, you just own the job. So that's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother video. But a lot of times what people got to understand is, if you work at a job, 9 times out of 10, you're going to work there 20, 30 years before you get to a place to where you feel as though you can enjoy those golden years, kick your feet up, relax, retirement. That's the word. So if you can put something in place through your business, whether brick and mortar or home base, and a lot of people are doing this through a home based business. We've done it and we're helping other people do it. If you can put something in place that can allow you to get that same retirement feel without having to work 30 years at the job in order to make that accomplishment, then I highly recommend it, because it buys you so much more time in life. Here's my example. Say, for instance, you were in a business, regardless of what it is, home base is what we specify is, the route to take, especially initially, low up front, huge cash flow, upside, profits, all of the above. But imagine you're putting in work in that home-based business for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and you look up and you realize, hold on, my expenses and what I'm being paid for my job is about $4,000 a month. I like to use that number, $4,000 a month. But from my business, I put myself in a position to where I'm earning $3,000, let's just say $3,000 a month passively. So it's $1,000 less than what you're earning from your job. But if you think about it and you say, hey, if I took that time back away from that job, I can make more. So many times that's enough for people to retire themselves because they put some things in place in order to receive the cash flow and the money that they need to enjoy life. So imagine you did that in 5 years and you had 25 or 20 years or 10 years left in your career before you could retire. How much more free would you feel being that you gave yourself 10 years of your life back that was once going out to another entity building their business? We literally did that. I would have been working for another 30 years had it not been for me taking my time back. And I feel so much more free because I understand that time is way more important than money. And if you have the time and you apply it properly and treat it like that hourglass is that sand is dropping every minute, now you can enjoy life a whole lot more. So keep that in mind, because a lot of times you can do that from the comforts of your home, building your business, and now you gave yourself your life back instead of another entity. And I know some people might love their job, but just keep that in perspective because time is extremely important.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes the mentality is a little bit different. You know, when you do have that traditional, that brick and mortar style business, you feel like, no, I want to dedicate all of this time to my business. That's my baby. You know,
True.
I have to get my business to where I want it. And with a home-based business, you do feel like that. But a lot of the times they can come off a little bit, I don't want to say rude, but they can come off a certain way, because I feel like as a home-based business owner, you do understand the importance and the value of your time a little bit more. You don't want people wasting your time. You know, you don't want people inquiring about information and then not following through. You always want, you know, to be in motion. One of the things that I love, you know, being a home-based business owner, I love being able to fill up my calendar with things that are going to feed or fuel my business, not a whole bunch of things that won't. You know, I like to be busy, but have you ever heard the saying of, it doesn't make sense to be busy and broke? Because you're just busy doing all of these things. You got your job, you got, you know, all of these things that, and you're just so busy, but you're not making any money. You're not really where you want to be financially. You're still either struggling financially or just unhappy with where you are financially. Well, then you have somebody who's putting in time, but every single thing that they're doing is fueling their business. They can either profit from it, or you know, they're making new connections, or they're networking, something that's going to either benefit their business, you know, short term or in the long run. So there's a big difference in how you value your time. And I feel like there is a little bit of a different mentality between having that traditional business opposed to having a home-based business.
Absolutely. And just to kind of conclude on the time, we spent a lot of time on time because time is important. It's that important. When you get the money out of the way, I know we put emphasis on making money and fueling the business. When you get those things in place, you just gave yourself more time. You see, you're not just sitting here making money and investing in yourself and creating these assets just for the sake of being strapped to it. Now, of course, if it's something you love and you get a passion and you're fulfilling, you know, what it is you came here to do, by all means, we're not straying away from that. But once you're getting money out of the way is the issue, you give yourself much more time to live life in your youthful years, or, you know, your best day and age, while you're still in a good place to do so. So get the money out of the way as an issue in certain areas, preferably using a business of some kind, especially a home-based business, because of the upside, and get your time back because it's the most important.
Yes. And the one that I want to actually end with, I had another one, but it, you know, the one that I actually want to end with is the customer reach. The customer reach. So, you know, a traditional business, keep in mind, you're kind of set up, you know, we're in Arkansas. So let's just say you're set up in Little Rock, Arkansas. The customers that you're hoping to reach are customers in Arkansas, obviously, right? Of course, when people come into town and things of that nature, but people in Arkansas. So, you know, you have different forms of advertising. You have, you know, commercials that you can do. You have, you know, billboards, of course, in the city. Do people still purchase those? I think they do.
Absolutely.
You have different things, radio ads that you can actually invest in, even social media, but you have to actually target a certain market. Okay. But then when you have your home-based business that you are building, and hopefully it is a nation or worldwide business, well, now you can use things like social media, a platform where you can reach, you know, any and everybody all over the world or all over the U.S. You have things like this radio show where you can
Absolutely.
advertise, and we have a following, where we can get your product or your service out to people all over. So the customer reach is completely different with the two different styles businesses.
Absolutely. And both can be profitable, but you're not just limited to the comforts of your area. In many cases,
Right.
that's what's happening. You just can only serve the people in your area because of that brick and mortar business. And it kind of limits your tax deductions too when we think about it from that angle, because,
Yeah.
for example, I'm going to just use a barbershop or a beautician. In all actuality, if they were to go out of town and try to write off that travel expense and say that they went there to further their clientele, it doesn't line up, because if you have a brick and mortar style business based on the city and state that you live in, how does it make sense that you're trying to get clients out in Mexico or Florida or, California, but you're based out of Little Rock, Arkansas? It doesn't kind of line up. But if you have that online home-based business where your reach is nationwide or worldwide, it ties in and makes a lot more sense, and it can save you a lot of cash flow, because certain things you're spending money on as it relates to vacation and furthering your brand or furthering your business can now be tax deductible when done correctly. So keep that in mind first and foremost. And this is something I said in a lyric of mine, because I'm an artist, I write and all of that, but it just came to mind when we're thinking about market reach and people just thinking local brick and mortar. Nothing against it, but don't limit yourself. I said World Wide Web. Tell me why you thinking local. You see, we got a World Wide Web, but a lot of people are thinking just in the comforts or the proximity of their home, just in their area, right around the corner. No, you need to get whatever product or service it is that you have out to the masses. Let the world know that you was here, but that doesn't happen if you don't get that market reach out there and not limiting yourself to just one particular area. So just another perspective to give you as it relates to the brick and mortar style.
Yep.
And the home-based business style.
And again, traditional businesses, they're getting with the program. You see a lot of the brick and mortar style businesses promoting using social media. Okay, social media started where?
At someone's home or garage,
home, dorm
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have to follow the trend, but at the same time, it does make, depending on what your business is and what your passion is in, sometimes it's just like a no-brainer to have a business that you can work where you can reach clients all over the map. It makes sense to me. So the customer reach, it is completely different, because you have one that's just kind of in one remote location, and then you have one that you're running online. That's kind of what the wave is going to. And it's even sad to see a lot of the traditional style businesses going away. I know I didn't want to touch on that, but
I think you just took it out of my brain.
they are, going away. Like, Toys R Us gone, or going. Walmart, some Walmart locations are laying off employees, and guess what? The online businesses are booming. You have the Amazon, the eBay that's really taken off because more things are going to online. It's even crazy to see how some of the traditional businesses are working hard to stick around.
Absolutely.
Going to the grocery store now, you can stay in the car because they will bring all of your groceries out for you. They did your shopping for you. All you got to do is pop trunk. Okay, so it's just crazy how the world is shifting and changing. So you do have to get with that trend. You need to see what you can do to really build some type of business online and really, profit, make money online, really make money in your sleep. And don't just say it.
I love it. And she took a lot of those thoughts right out of my brain, because really that's what it is. A lot of big businesses are adopting the online model. So, Walmart, for example, they're definitely starting to adopt it and understand the importance of having an online presence versus only a brick and mortar, because a lot of people are doing more things from their home. They're building their business, and they might not necessarily want to get out and go to the store. So they might want to have it delivered. There are a lot of, delivery apps that are out that allow people to go pick up certain things and even bring it to your home, because people are starting to appreciate their time. You see, when you get out and go to the stores, you got to get in traffic. Then you get in the store, you got to do all this shopping and looking for items. when you can pay a surcharge fee of $5 or $7, and it saves you an hour and a half because somebody else did the shopping and they delivered it to you, or you just went and picked it up. So you just gave yourself an hour and a half of your life back, and you just paid somebody $7. Was it worth it? Absolutely. So that's what's going on as they start to recognize the trend and people want their time back more so now than ever. They either have to, like I like to say, they either get right or they get left. So they can either get right with what's going on, the trend, and what the people are demanding based on the time that they want back to themselves, or they will get left behind. So get right or get left. Technology taking over and doing some things, and benefit from it. Don't knock it. A lot of times when stuff starts to happen and automation takes place, people are always against it on the front end. People are against the internet at some point on the front end, and look at us now. We're communicating, and you're in a total different city and state that we've probably never even been to in our life, but you see us and hear us in real time. And a lot of times when these factories were transitioning and incorporating certain machinery, people had something against it because jobs were being lost. But you got to get right or you get left behind. So people will knock it at the beginning, then eventually they'll understand the importance of it and have no choice but to adopt it and use it.
Yes. So I love the conversations going on in the comments. Thank y'all so much for hopping on. Keep those thumbs and hearts coming across the screen.
Yeah.
If you missed the question in the beginning, we talked about our anniversary, and we are, okay, I'm getting afraid of going to the Smoky Mountains over the beach. So just to kind of close it up and being funny, of course, we're going to do the mission statement. Tell us which one you would prefer, the Smoky Mountains or the beach. Are you a beach type of girl like I am?
Sound
or,
like a commercial.
Or do you want to spend time out in the woods with bears? And I know I'm making this sound
Landing
bad.
on thick.
I am landing on thick with bears and, hot tub and, wood, log cabin. Something about the wood even started making my stomach feel a certain type of way. I don't know. I guess I'm just a scary cat. I saw a couple of reviews, you guys, that said something about bears. And I was like, real ones? Real bears? I'm not about that life. I'm not. Delilah, I see you on here. Delilah, which one would you do? The Smoky Mountains or the beach? So we'll just close it up with that funny question. I know you laughing. I'm just looking at your face. Something about it, y'all, as I was just scrolling and looking at cabins and looking at the different resorts out there, I just started getting nervous. So I don't know.
And I can care less either way which one we do, because keep in mind, both of them was her idea. I was actually favoring the Smoky Mountains and that particular area with the cabins. And what is the name of the area called again? Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Yeah, I was actually favoring it because of all of the different things that they have to do in that area. But either one is fine. Both of them was her idea, but I love them both. So whatever you like, put it in the comments. But understand that this video was all about perspective, and we brought it home with a question of what you think we should do based on your perspective. But take a perspective on a home-based business, being able to operate remotely or anywhere in the world, or a traditional brick and mortar style business, and see which one you feel is more beneficial to you. Don't just take our word for it or our perspective, but see which one is the most beneficial to you. And this video is all about the perspective of the two.
And one more thing I want to add is also keep in mind, you guys, depending on what it is that you do, because some people dream of having a physical location.
Absolutely.
You can start at home and transition into a physical location. So it's all on you. It's all on your perspective and what you want to do. But just get out here, live life, y'all. Follow your dreams. You don't have to work for someone else forever. You have things that you want to do. You're just scared to do it. Get out of your comfort zone, because the real money and the real wealth and your real life is found on the other side of your comfort zone.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to conclude with the mission statement of we are royalty. You see, we live in a world where we are conditioned for failure. And oftentimes we are programmed or fooled into mediocrity. So people find themselves living like peasants instead of the royalty that they were meant to be. But you see here, we are royalty. We see the king in you. We see that queen in you from start to finish. It's just time for you to take your seat on the throne, because this is where we uplift your character, your confidence, and your cash flow. You see, as royalty, you should establish a solid financial foundation that'll soon lead to your abundance and thriving empire. Take your seat on the throne, kings and queens. We are royalty. Salute.